Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in this world. What a beautiful morning it is here in the East Coast of the United States. This is Hedging Lee with a morning update for Bitcoin. I was kind of chuckling a little bit last night how many people were already starting to panic just by this. It was very interesting. Um, and as you get more seasoned and experienced through crashes and euphoria, panic euphoria, but more importantly, be able to self-proficiently count and analyze on your own and project on your own future price pathways by identifying as many possibilities and narrowing down a handful of probabilities. And amongst those probabilities are these kind of crazy actions, and therefore you are at least aware of that potential, that probable potential. And then you rank order the probabilities into a primary and secondary price projection pathway. And by doing that, you are not surprised, you are not panicked when washouts like this occur. Okay? So last night I left off with pretty much this, and I had lowered this to 8,400 or so, and lowered this because I felt what I was seeing, and I did not articulate this because I don't want to. When I put out too many alternate counts, it becomes very confusing for too many of the new people who are in the early stages of learning Elliott waves. It becomes too confusing. So what I had seen was, while I'm counting this as 1, 2, and I'm counting this as 3, 4, and 5, that is a very bullish one pathway. And what we can look at is now, so here is a clean chart. Now I'm going back to Bitstamp price feed. They may have small variation, but the count is really absolutely no different. So we completed an ABC expanded flat here, right? As you recall. Get rid of this. And from this C, we started climbing. And the label I have, the labeling that I have here had it so that this is 1, 2, and we were working on 3. And the alternate count that I was looking at possibly would go something like this. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if that is the case, this 3 is here and not to be yet. That I'm moving this 3 over here. Okay. If this is the case, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, ABC 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me show you the subwaves now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be the subwaves of the 3. Okay. And then for 4 is ABC, as we saw, we called it also a flag, bullish flag, which is very good, common for wave 4 type of pattern. And then here's wave 1, 2, 3, 4, subwaves for wave 5. That means what? If wave 5 is in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And height of 1 is approximately the same as height of 5. Wave 3 is extended. Therefore, I can approximate that wave 1 is about the same as wave 5, and it meets pretty well there. That means this wave 5, if what happens after wave 5? Elliott wave states that after 5 waves, there is a requisite ABC correction. If this count is correct, then what we need to expect is a correction. And we can be looking at A, B, C type. And that ABC will be traced to the prior wave 4. I think it might be sharper than that. Now, if I remove this temporarily and zoom into this a little more with higher resolution microscopy, chart microscopy, if this is 5, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. But what bothers me only here is that this counts as 5 too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why it is not my primary count. This is my alternate count. So 5, 5 doesn't make sense. B has to always be 3. But can I bend it so that I can make this into an ABC count? Yes. I can say ABC, A, B, ABC, C. So then what I can say is 5, 3, 5. But the only thing I don't like about this is this doesn't count very 3-wave-ish. And I think it can make a higher high. So let's say if it does make a higher high. A, B, and we can have an expanded flat. And we know how much Bitcoin loves expanded flats. Just like what we recently saw on the prior correction, it was an expanded flat. That is a tertiary count. But I'd rather state that. Now, if you look at it here, we could see it as A, B. If this extends further high, it would look 3-wave-ish. But not like this. But we can still get that. In fact, this so far looks very fractal to this. So again, this will be my secondary count. And we are only off by 82.73 compared to $23 from the top. My primary still remains as this. And what I would do here is I would take this 3, lower it down, take this 4, and put it down here. Get rid of this sign. And we now again move everything to the right because time has elapsed. So my primary account still says that we hit 8,900 or so by wave 5, and this should still impulsing. But I was kind of chuckling last night how I was just quickly scanning the Steam, although people, I don't read really their analysis, but I read their headlines a little bit just to see what they were thinking about this bit of a washout last night. And people were thinking, it's crashing. Bitcoin's crashing. And that is the emotion side of humans. And it's very, very natural. You cannot fault them for feeling that. I feel it too, absolutely. I mean, I'm not immune to it. I'm a human being. That's why I quite often actively avoid looking at other people's charts or the analysts' charts. Because as a human being, I don't want to be influenced by their impressions and convictions as to the direction of the market, because I want my own. I don't avoid other people's analysis, not out of arrogance. If you meet me, you will know right away I'm not an arrogant person in any way whatsoever. So it is not out of arrogance that I actively avoid other analysts' work. It's because I want to generate my own. I do not want to be influenced by someone else's assessment of the price direction. Because if someone says it's crashing, here's all the compelling reason, I'm wading through it, and that will cause me to do what? Herd. It's called a herding mentality. And you don't want to be part of a herding mentality. And to that end, I had written and posted and will repost the link for this on this blog. Just can't forget about it because my short-term memory has been, I got so much to do and so little time. Quite often I forget small things to add links. Here's an essay. The dangers of herding mentality for a trader or investor might be a good read for you. And this is one primary reason why I actively avoid other people's assessment. People send me charts, links to news, and I'm grateful, and I do read them. But they may notice that I read them maybe a lot later than when they sent me. And I do that intentionally, not to ignore their messages and the gifts of links and analysis and whatever, but because I want enough time to pass so that its influence on me could be minimal, so that it doesn't bring me into the danger zone of herding, H-E-R-D, herd mentality. And when you notice, here's a danger of herding. Quite often you don't know that you're herding with a group or a thought. It's extremely, extremely difficult to catch yourself. And for that reason, the best way for me is to be siloed as possible. And that is another secret sauce component of mine that I'm giving out to anyone who wants to maybe evaluate the value of that. Because it took me many years of blood, sweat, and tears and emotional distress and losses and bringing accounts to zero and even negative with margins from my early days to finally understand herding is the most dangerous thing for any successful investor. And to avoid it, one must actively avoid other people's analysis, other people's opinions. One must always step aside, away from any arguments, any debates with anybody having counter viewpoints to you from a technical analysis assessment, because that therefore will influence the way I think and the way that I will then perceive. Perception has infinite layers, and what you think one moment to the next moment might be still constant. If it is impacted in any way whatsoever from an outside event, news, or analysis, you will not know that you are suddenly now hurting with their thoughts and not your own. Okay, so another good secret sauce, people. Learn through many, many years and many, many failure experiences. Lessons learned. Primary count. Let's see what happens. There is a chance that the alternate could play out. Let's see what happens also for that too. But we should see higher highs, in my opinion. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin Cash. My labelings from last night were not saved, which is quite annoying. Alright, I just cleaned it all up, paused it for a while, the video, and cleaned it all up. Let's just start again. I love clean slates. The only thing I left was this for now. So if this was ABC, the bottom of C, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if 5 waves occurred, then this is a correction. And this correction we can label as WX, WXY, WX, WX. No, try one more time. WXY, this is WXY. Oops. Gotta label the 0 here. So WXY. So X, WXY. This could be Y. So here's the hurry up and wait syndrome. Okay. And the reason why I don't make this in ABC is because when you see lateral movements, horizontal movements, it's a complex correction, guaranteed. When I saw this going laterally, I was like, oh, I was almost doing WXY, but then I saw the triangle, ABCDE. So it was a combination of 5, triangle 5, which would have been otherwise a zigzag if the B was just ABC. I could have made this ABC and gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfectly correct. But when I see a pattern, I can't pass it by. I love patterns. And if I see a pattern, I will incorporate it into the Elliott waves because it's extremely valuable. It makes the algorithm of the projection that much more powerful. And people, if you just give yourself a little time to learn the Elliott waves and then assimilate the patterns into it, you will have an extremely powerful algorithm to be able to project and then await for the news and events to justify your projections. So the key question here is WXY done? Looks like it. This is T about the same, if not T bit lower than the W. And the only thing that I would say as being possible, there could be one more low, let's say, to complete the Y. Last night I gave an example of Head and Shoulders. Still feasible if this comes up. But I think if there's one more lower low from this WXY perspective, it makes perfect sense. And for beginners, for the newbies, you're thinking, but you know what the hell you're doing, Engine? You're going wishy-washy back and forth. Last night you had head and shoulders. Now you're doing lower lows. Drive me nuts. Can you please just stay on one plane of thought? No. The only constant in technical analysis is change. And that is extremely important to understand and adapt to. I'll say it again. The only constant in technical analysis is change. Better yet, that's a freaking universal constant. The only constant in this universe of ours is what? Change. And that is hitting the nail right on the head, a universal truth. And it is no different at the level of technical analysis. That constant change is no different at even our daily lives. One instant to a next instant is never the same. Change is an integral based component of this universe. But here's the key. Change happens on a principle of the golden ratio. Boom. And that is why Fibonacci ratios have application in technical analysis. I was coaching a young fellow, and I was telling him examples of how I charted down on a graph paper my every 6 months salary points. This was many years back. And I don't have it here, but let's say it was something like this. When I saw when I was in graduate school, I was thinking, oh boy, if I could just make $30,000 a year, how happy I would be. This was in the very early 90s. And I was thinking, and I was a research assistant back then, living off of $6,000 of stipend per month as a grad student, teaching and researching. And I was thinking, oh God, if I could just make 30,000. But then, I don't want 98 or so, 2000. I started counting. It's like how I was counting my salary. And I started out at like 40,000 and back. And maybe it wasn't catching 50,000 or so. And I was like, this is wave 3. Wow, there's something's going to happen. Showing up, I got freaking laid off. Damn. And that was my first epiphany in making a projection and later a news on event like a layoff. Justifying the forecast. What a lesson in any ways. So I would encourage you to do the same thing maybe for yourselves. Plot out your salaries and count it and see what happens. Robert Prechter, I think one of his colleagues, did a Elliott Wave assessment of the Beatles' career, the group, the Beatles. You can apply Elliott waves to anything. Why? Number 1, they are underlined based on Fibonacci. Number 2, change is constant. Number 3, and most of all, they are the reflections of sentiment, which is a direct linkage to thought. That is the basis of my understanding of technical analysis. It is quantum based. Your salary is a quantum event. How you get your salary and what decides your salary is a quantum event. So anyways, it works, in my opinion. And in this case, WXY for Bitcoin Cash, I'm changing my account here. I had the head and shoulders, but change is constant. Let's draw some lines here. Beautiful. Could be done. Could be finito. So my primary account will be like this. And you might be thinking, geez, now you're changing your freaking target again. What the hell is going on? Change is constant. And if you can't adapt to this, maybe this isn't for you. But I think anything is adaptable. Even the smell of a dead body carcass, within 10 minutes, you will adapt to the smell of it. Now here, WXY is done. That means we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now my wave 3 is 1800. Wave 5 is over 2000. 2068. Okay. I hope this has been helpful for you. I am overjoyed and more than happy to give away all my secrets. I have nothing to gain, just to keep it for myself. And I hope it helps you, and I hope it helps to grow your wealth, which is never bad. Again, I also hope I have earned the right to ask you for your upvotes and your consideration for follow and your restreams. Last but not least, I wish you all massive profits. Thank you. Have a great day.